Hi there, I'm Stephen Durkin. My great pleasure to welcome you to our Leading Conversation series. Joining you today from our Life of Mine and Mine Waste and Tailings Conference here in Brisbane, Queensland, and my great pleasure today to welcome James Purtill, the Queensland Mine Rehabilitation Commissioner. A long, esteemed, successful career as a Queensland Government executive, a number of massively significant Queensland Government roles of significance to the mining industry, including as Director General of the Department of Natural Resources, Mine and Energy for many years. So James, welcome.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Appreciate it, and good to join you.
So as your current role, the Queensland Mine Rehabilitation Commissioner, especially in the context of our Life of Mine conference, interested to hear what the role of Commissioner entails, what it involves, and what your responsibilities are in that role, James.
Yeah, sure. So as part of a suite of reforms around mine rehabilitation and transitions to post-mining land uses that occurred between about 2017 and 2019, one of the reforms was the establishment of an advisory role to government in leading practice in progressive rehabilitation and mine closure planning, or I prefer to call it transitions to post-mining futures. At the same time, the suite of reforms established the Financial Provisioning Fund here in Queensland, and also brought in life of mine planning for the 200 or so largest operations in the state. So that role was established, and I took up that role as the inaugural commissioner in October of 2021.
And is that involved, James, like is there a team of people that work around you within that responsibility?
Yes, we have a small team. I work...
Small, talented team.
It's a very talented, very productive team. A model where we partner with both consultants, industry and academia, right, to produce that leading practice advice. We trawl global leading practice. We also do some research from first principles, and typically we'll partner with others.
Yes.
I report directly to the Minister for Environment as an independent commissioner.
I see. Yeah. So it sounds, you've kind of introduced this concept of advice. Yep. So you see it, I would imagine, more as carrot than stick in terms of your roles and responsibility, or is it a little bit of both?
No, it's 100% carrot.
100% carrot.
Yeah. Yep. So that originally some of the stakeholders were very keen on what I'd say is to introduce a regulator of the regulator.
Right.
Not that dissimilar to the US Federal Office of Surface Mining.
Got it.
Regulation and Enforcement.
Yes.
Fortunately, that didn't happen.
Yes.
And the option was for a leading practice advisory group.
I see.
Why I say fortunately is because we can go on to mine sites and have very open, very candid discussions about what works, what doesn't work, what the challenges are.
Yes.
And have those discussions without any spectre of compliance-related issues.
Yep.
So that's been one of the real strengths of the role in my view.
Yep.
One that I didn't perceive until I started to go out and realise that we could have freedom of those discussions. When I provide advice to government, it's not about specific sites. It's about the systemic issues that we see that are challenging sectors of the industry or the industry at large.
I see.
In totality. So that's been a really good thing.
Okay. Yeah. And what are some of those systemic issues? Like, are there a couple of kind of major themes that in your work that you kind of see coming through?
I suppose that at the larger scale, the ability to find a trajectory for an operating mine to head towards a successful surrender of its mining leases and environmental authorities has proven to be incredibly challenging. And it's not unique to the Queensland jurisdiction. We only have to look at the record of mine closures in similar jurisdictions, both here in Australia and globally, to see that it's incredibly challenging. And obviously the more geotechnically or geochemically complex that mines become, the more difficult it is for, even with the most amount of technological application resources thrown at it, the ability to make it there is very difficult, and the proof is in the pudding. Here in Queensland, only one small coal mine has ever been successfully surrendered under contemporary environmental regulation.
I see.
That's New Hope's Chuar mine, which was just a small couple of open cuts.
Right. So if you talk about kind of the industry, so sounds like you're providing advice to government and to industry, in fact, all parts of the ecosystem, really. If I focused on the advice to industry, where do you see the industry at in terms of its journey here? Like, is there an awareness of kind of the need for kind of to plan differently for this in the future, but looking for advice on how to do that effectively? Would that kind of be a fair way to categorise it, or is it quite different to that?
I'd call it a two-speed advisory service,
right.
Because we provide leading practice advice, which is great if you're thinking about starting a mine.
Yes.
But the reality is that the vast majority of our assets are up and running.
Yep.
Right across Australia.
Yes.
Most mines are multi-decadal, they're long-lived,
right.
and some of the practices of the past are now, if you like, legacies that we have to deal with.
Yeah, right.
So while the leading practice advice says, if you're going to start a greenfields operation, we'd like to see this type of practice implemented.
Yep.
That's one speed. The second speed is, all right, well, here's what we've got with the existing fleet of operations.
Yes.
How can we best retrofit leading practice into that?
I see.
And we have to be, I think, sanguine around what those challenges are and our ability to address them in very constructive ways. And I think there's lots and lots of opportunity there with some tweaks to the way we go about it.
And I know I've heard you talk before, or share your vision for Queensland to be a global leader in mine land rehabilitation. Can you just kind of unpack that vision a little bit for us, and maybe offer some perspectives on where Queensland sits relative to other jurisdictions in Australia or in a global context for us, James?
Yeah, sure. So the vision that we articulate is to be able to draw upon all of the lessons, all of the scar tissue that's been accumulated from around the world, bring it to the table, and then provide the Queensland government with advice around how we might best work with industry and other very important stakeholders. Both rights holders and interest holders, in being able to ensure that we have an industry that is healthy, economically viable, long-lived, but also very responsible in terms of those transitions that we're inevitably seeing in certain sectors. There are transitions that are seeing pressure on certain areas with capital and sentiment exiting some areas. But similarly, we're seeing plenty of capital and sentiment pouring into other areas. Both of those things come with challenges that we look to provide that type of integrated advice. Sometimes it's around policy settings that we think could change. And sometimes it's around, if you like, technological approaches to rehabilitation or planning for closure or whatever that might be.
Just maybe a reference to the capital side of things, because I'd imagine that'd be like a massive constraint or challenge in terms of people adequately planning or making that financial provision to be able to rehabilitate mines down the track. Is that a fair categorisation?
I think so. If we have a look at Auditor General reports from almost every mining jurisdiction in Australia, inevitably after the Auditor General's been through, they'll say that the financial provisioning is insufficient.
Got it.
However, the reality of calls upon that financial assurance are also very unlikely to ever call upon the totality of that. So where do we find the balance between an affordable provisioning scheme and making sure that we have adequately provisioned for what those contingent liabilities are? The cumulative estimated rehabilitation cost does continue to grow, and that is something that I think we need to be watching and to make sure that where there is opportunity for judicious progressive rehabilitation, that is happening. Obviously, the most cost-effective dollar to spend on anything is the dollar today. But obviously, discounting well into the future also brings with it, if you like, some comfort that maybe some decision makers want to put that work off. And so we need to find a balance.
Got it. Okay. If you've referenced the vision you have for Queensland to do this in a world-class way, to be a global leader, are there any specific projects or initiatives in Queensland that you would consider to be world-leading? And if so, what is it about those projects that makes them so unique, James?
Yeah, sure. Well, there's certainly a few that stand out and spring to mind. So New Century's reprocessing of the zinc tailing storage facility at the Century Zinc mine would certainly be a standout.
Yes.
And while it was started by a smaller entity, Sibanya Stillwater has now taken over that site. They're a company that you see has demonstrable commitments to circular economy principles. I think New Century became the 5th largest zinc mine in the world.
Wow.
Re-mining the tailings. So that is certainly a standout project.
Gotcha.
But I'd also point to EQ Resources' Mount Carbine project, where EQ Resources, again, a very strong commitment, I think, to circular economy principles, is reworking through its low-grade ore stockpiles on the site. It's a tungsten mine. They're separating additional low-grade tungsten from other material and seeking to use all of that material.
Gotcha.
So the principle of being able to use benign material as construction material, you know, I just love it. I love the ambition, and we need, part of my role is to find what barriers exist to stop some more of these innovative, you could call it post-mining land use or reprocessing or just extracting maximum value from the disturbance footprint.
Got it.
All of those principles are tied up with those.
So that sort of speaks to kind of the essence of this conference, you know, sort of mine waste and tailings and circular economy and sustainability and being a good corporate citizen. Just a couple of comments from you, James, about kind of the conference and how you see the importance of kind of the work that's taking place here and the conversations that are happening in terms of driving some of this thinking and elevating some of this thinking.
Right. Well, I've always liked Life of Mine conference, but particularly excited about bringing the two together. The tailings are certainly one of the most challenging aspects of waste management, and certainly have some of the most exciting opportunities for waste back to resource as well. Bringing those two disciplines together, and I hope in the future many other disciplines, lots and lots of other aspects that can come together, will not only help to provide that fertilisation of the technical discourse that happens, but also start to understand some of the challenges that expand beyond even these two disciplinary streams. And when we start to bring some of those additional elements together, I think that's just a very powerful collaborative piece. You got to start with initiatives like this. So I applaud AusIMM for it. It's a great move. It does make it very difficult to choose between which stream I want to go and listen to, because they're all incredibly relevant. And to see more of those people who day to day are either designing or operating or remediating tailing storage facilities, we know they've got a spotlight on them. But they're also an extraordinary source of future resource. You know? And we need to manage them in a stewardship model that I think is different to what people have conventionally thought about. All right, how can we make this geotechnically and geochemically stable and then somehow magically walk away? Well, I think we're looking now at how can we manage those, because we know one day that there is extra value to be extracted. It may not be commercially viable right now, but we only have to have a look at the history of commercial cut-off grades of any commodity under demand, of which many are. Let's start with copper, to see that with innovation and demand, you know, we can go back and absolutely utilise those resources once our technology starts to crack the code on those. And it's only a lack of imagination that thinks that those storages aren't going to be there and hugely valuable for the future. New Century's doing it as we speak. But many others will do it, and we'll crack some of the tougher metallurgy. We'll go after the cobalt. We'll go after all of, you know, rare earth elements. Lots and lots of other opportunities exist. So it's a combination of making sure that we're environmentally responsible, but also managing those with an eye to the future when they will absolutely be a resource again.
I love how you're kind of picking up that kind of technical discourse piece and that scientific know-how that goes into executing this really well. But I like how you're kind of describing that as almost like a corporate strategic approach, kind of interconnected to the brand and reputation of organizations. Is that how you sort of see it, in terms of that kind of brand, corporate reputation, sort of corporate strategy that some of these big companies are trying to kind of commit to?
And I think in terms of the role of the AusIMM as well, for its members to be able to successfully communicate complex technical issues into the language of investors, into rights holders, stakeholders, politicians, absolutely. There is a craft and a discipline in that
totally agree.
That is historically something, it means there's a huge future. But being able to do that in a way that's approachable by those stakeholders is absolute gold. And it comes out of the discourse of these sorts of conferences. And then, as I say, when we bring those other disciplines in, we can start to speak the language that's understood by others who may not wake up in the morning like you and I and think about mining every day.
I think sometimes people in the public don't fully appreciate how sophisticated our industry is. And what we're at this conference showcasing are just some of the experience, some of the talent, some of the experience represented through our industry, and it's quite outstanding, really, and world class. I think is what we've seen at this conference. Final area I wanted to explore with you, James, is a little bit about your own personal leadership journey. This session is about leading conversations, and we like to focus on how people got to do the amazing roles that they're currently doing. Could you share a little bit about your background? And for those out there aspiring to be a mine rehabilitation commissioner, what your advice and tips would be in terms of building a career towards that?
Well, I always believe that the most important job you ever have is the one you're in right now, because it'll dictate what happens to you next. So I'm an environmental scientist by profession. I have a science degree from the University of New South Wales, an MBA from Queensland. After a short stint at the University of London, I came and worked for an American groundwater consulting firm that was ultimately bought by Fluor. When Fluor, the engineering company, came on board, that's when I moved from hydrocarbons into mining. So I worked on the mining program for Fluor. Then the Environmental Protection Agency here in Queensland was established. I liked the idea of what they were doing, so I shifted out of the private sector into government. I became Director General of the EPA. At the time, a couple of other gigs in government, and then I went back into the private sector to work on the Santos GLNG project, so back into gas, or back into petroleum for a while. And then I was asked to come back into government, and ultimately I ran the mines department, which is natural resources, mines and energy. And then when this opportunity came up, it was just too good to knock back. To be honest, as an environmental scientist and as a senior public servant, you do drift away from the technical, and that was a chance for me to get back on the tools a little bit, which I enjoyed. But also hopefully to be able to influence strategy for the future, and to genuinely deliver on that aspiration of global leadership. I think we have the ability in Australia, in other jurisdictions as well. They're very good jurisdictions here. But if we can get the balance between supporting a healthy industry, getting the environmental performance right, but also making sure that we maximise the value out of the land that we've already explored, that we've already developed, as well as responsibly developing greenfield sites, is a lot of fun. So I love it.
Thanks.
So the advice would be, like work hard but have fun.
That's it. Massive respect from our industry in terms of your service to government and your commitment to our industry, and really appreciate your time today, and really respect you greatly for all that you've achieved and for being such a strong supporter of AusIMM in this conference. So James, thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheers.
From all of us here in Brisbane, catch you soon.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.